In today's video, I'm going to be ranking my favorite to least favorite European cruise ports that I've been to so that when you're deciding on which itinerary to pick in this incredible destination for cruising, you can better fine-tune exactly the right one for you based on these rankings. So stick around, all that and more up next. You don't want to miss it. Welcome to our next adventure with me, Jason. In today's video, I'm ranking over 20 European cruise ports, which means it's going to be a bit on the longer side, but I promise you the insight and information you're going to get by watching this and some of the footage, of course, along the way is going to be so helpful. So please stick around for the whole thing. Trust me, it's going to be worth every single second. First up, we have Ajaccio in Corsica. Now, it is an incredibly beautiful place to go visit with so much history, especially relating to Napoleon Bonaparte and his family. However, I just don't think it's the most riveting, most exciting port to go visit. It's very walkable, which is great, but all that considered, there are just better places. So for now, it's going to get a score of a D ranking. Next up, we have Alicante in Spain. Alicante is incredibly beautiful and something that is so worth visiting when you get the chance to. But in terms of prioritization, I think for someone who's going on a cruise, there are better places to go to first within Europe, let alone Spain itself. And for that reason, it will also score a D. Next up, we've got Athens or Athens, because you're actually stopping in the port of Piraeus, which is just on the outskirts of Athens. But once you get into central Athens, between all the archaeological sites and the food, the people, oh, it's just an incredible place. Such a wonder of the world to be there, and I absolutely adore it. I think it is one of the best ports you could ever stop at, especially if you've never been to Greece or never been to Athens at all. It's amazing. You're probably going to want to come back afterwards anyway, and there's so many reasons to do so. So for that reason, I'm going to be giving it an A. Now, why not an S tier if I think it's so amazing? Because unfortunately, the transport issue is a bit of a pain, but make sure you go check out my video, which I'll put somewhere up here, and of course in the description section below for every one of these ports that I do have something on already, and I'll obviously update it to make sure that you can get the most out of visiting there or get an idea of what to do there. Next up, we've got Barcelona or Barcelona, and I think this is an incredible city. There's so much to do, so much to see with all the incredible architecture by Gaudi, and of course some of these incredible spots like Park Güell, which is a personal favorite of mine. But as a port stop, I actually don't like it. And I know that might be controversial. I think people really get lost in like, oh, it's Barcelona, this is like amazing. Of course, there's the football, etc. But I think it's a place that you're way better off spending a day or two and prior to a cruise, hence you can leave for some cruises from there, than actually visiting it for a day as part of a cruise. So this may be controversial for some of you, but I'm actually going to be scoring it a C. Bodrum in Turkey, personally, I despise this port. I had a great day when I was there, but I absolutely hate it. And I really think that the only reason it's even there is because cruise lines get cheaper flights to get their crew to change over there, and it is a cheap port to stop at. So yeah, I'm not even going to discuss that further. Moving on, it gets it. Up next, we've got Cadiz in Spain. Now, personally, I just don't think this is such a great port because there's not too much to be done. There's tons of history to it. It can be very beautiful, especially in the summer. And it is not too far away from several other interesting regions within Spain, like the Jerez region. But honestly, this is such an easy to miss port. I don't think much of it. I'm going to have to score that in the D category. Next up, we've got Cannes in France. And yes, everyone knows it because of the film festival and of course the celebrity behind it. But I actually don't like it for that reason. I think that part of it is actually overhyped and overrated. The food is quite good and it is a very beautiful place to walk around. However, the main reason you should actually consider going there as a port stop is because you can then catch a very easy train from there to Monaco, and that's more interesting and more beautiful. Even if you're not a gambler, the history and everything going on there is super cool, and it's a nice place to go visit as its own thing just by itself. However, for that reason, there is something also to be aware of, and that is typically you do need to take a tender when you go to Cannes, which is a pain. For that reason, I'm going to score it a C. Moving on to Rome or Civitavecchia in Italy. Now, something to be aware of here. They love to market it as Rome because, well, who would want to market this as Civitavecchia? Civitavecchia is about an hour plus drive outside of Rome. It's an hour plus train ride outside of Rome. It's a pain in the backside. You want to go to Rome? Don't count on your cruise to go to Rome. It's not going to be pleasant in that kind of experience. You're way better off visiting this as a standalone vacation. And obviously you can then go to Vatican City if that's what interests you. Or you go here before a cruise that you're taking that's leaving from Civitavecchia. But other than that, I would avoid any cruise that is actually counting that as a port stop. I think it's a huge disservice to people. So moving on, it gets a D. Back with the lovely Hellenic people of Greece on the island of Corfu. It's one of the largest islands in Greece, and it is incredibly beautiful and also so tranquil. The actual central old town has become just over touristy and a tourist trap, and I don't like that to it. The surrounding of it with the fort and stuff is really wonderful, and there's some great beaches to go to whilst you're there. I think the cruise experience of this does it a good job because you get to at least experience it, but it doesn't do it a good enough job because if it's overcrowded with all the shuttles and everything, it's a bit of a headache. And I do think Corfu is so big, you're going to want to actually go there on an extended stay where it's going to really shine. So for that reason, I won't score it a D, but it's going to get a C. I'd love to score it a bit higher, but honestly, just the whole shuttle thing is a nightmare. Now we move on to Dubrovnik in Croatia. Now this is an incredible cruise port destination because it's kind of out the way for most people to go and visit. But if you go there on a cruise, it's very popular. You get in, you get shuttled to the old town, which is where that fort is. And many of you want to probably go there to go and see where your favorite Game of Thrones scenes were shot. It is very crowded, and also it's become very touristy because of Game of Thrones, etc. Even before then, it was still very popular and a bit touristy, but now even more so. I also think that one of the unsung heroes of Dubrovnik is it's a great place to go scuba diving. As much as I'd love to score this an A, I'm going to give it a B because if you're not a fan of Game of Thrones, there's something to see and it's really great to go see. It's very easy to go see it, but it is just overwhelming with the number of people that are going to be there, and it can be a little bit unpleasant. Next up, we have the famous Spanish party island of Ibiza. Now, I have to get this out the way. If you're going to be going to this specifically for Ibiza on a cruise, you want to make sure you're doing an overnight stay. So for example, I went there as part of an overnight on Virgin Voyages. Now remember, I'm talking about cruising, not going there on a standalone vacation. It's awesome and everything in that regard, but this is specifically for cruising. To go there just for a day is a waste. You want to be able to experience the nightlife, and actually during the day, it's really lovely. They have amazing food, beaches, bars, everything you can want. The nearby island of Formentera is stunning. So make sure you get that full wholesome experience as a nice teaser for the next time when you want to come back. Having said that, I am going to score it an A, but it's because I'm going to assume you're going to do your best to go and visit it as part of an overnight and not as a singular day trip. Well, we're back in Greece at Katakolo, which is an incredible port stop. Actually, I think the only downside to this is it's very hit and miss. If you love the idea of going to visit the ancient Olympic site where the very first Olympic Games ever took place in all of history, then this place is like S tier level, even with the fact it'll take a train to get there. However, if you're not interested in that, it is a total wash of a port. It's very beautiful, don't get me wrong, but there are just way better places you could go to. So, kind of balancing all of that out, I'm going to have to score this a B, and it kills me. I personally love it. I think this could even be an A or S tier thing. But at the same time, I do get if I ever had to go back there, I'd be a bit annoyed because there just isn't that much to do outside of ancient Olympia. And now we get to the beautiful Bay of Kotor in Kotor in Montenegro. Sailing in and sailing out of Kotor is in of itself worth it alone. It is so unbelievably breathtakingly beautiful that I have to say you gotta go just to experience that. However, once you do get into the port and you are finally on land, because it's very popular for tendering, I don't think there's too much to be done there. You can be quite creative. I went hiking. It's really lovely there. Got some really good food too. But I just think you really got to go out of your way to make the most of it. But the strength of that sail in and sail out is so much so that I'm going to score this an easy B. Next up, we're in La Spezia in Italy. Now, I think this is one of the best ports in all of Italy and one of the best ports you'll ever get a chance to go to. Why is that? Because it gives you direct access via La Spezia Centrale, the train station, on a dedicated train line that goes through all 5 of the villages that make up Cinque Terre, which is honestly one of the most beautiful places you will ever visit, I think. So, my advice is get to the train station, get on board, and go and check out every single one of them. The one you want to spend the most time at is going to be Monte Rosso al Mare. I think that's the best one out of them all. It is so beautiful. The food's amazing. Of course, the views are incredible. You're just going to have the most unforgettable time ever. Easy S tier port. Now, staying in Italy, we've got Carrara or Marina Di Carrara. I personally don't like this port. I think its one upside is it allows you many choices. And so if, let's say, everyone on the ship has got a different idea on what they want to do in Italy, then yes, you can either head up north to La Spezia to go to Cinque Terre, or you can go to Livorno or to Pisa or to Firenze. But I just think the problem there is that because the port itself is useless, it's essentially a guaranteed transit port. You are going there to then catch a train to go somewhere more interesting. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a C because it does allow you access to incredible destinations, but it's just getting into the C category. Otherwise, it would be a D because the rest of it is just so uninteresting. All right, now we're going to be talking about Lisbon in Portugal, or Lisboa. I have to say that it is absolutely beautiful there. It is an incredible, incredible city. I do think it is better suited for longer stays. However, going there on a port day is incredible because you get to explore quite a lot. You can explore it by foot quite easily. There's a lot of very easy to use public transport, like the different vernaculars and trams that they've got going around. And of course, you've got taxis, a subway, etc. too. But having said that, most of the best places I think to see if going to Lisbon are actually not within Lisbon. They're more on the outskirts, like various castles, etc. So you're going to probably want to go and do that. Nonetheless, the food's amazing and it is an incredible place. However, you do have to go quite out of your way when you visit there. So I am going to score it a C. Back in Italy, we are in Livorno. Now, I have to say, unfortunately, Livorno and Marina Di Carrara are much of a muchness, although I would say Livorno is a much better port to find yourself in than Marina Di Carrara, but you're going to be using them both pretty much for the same reason. You're either going to be taking a train to Firenze, or you're going to be going to Pisa, or maybe you're even going to go all the way to Cinque Terre. It's much of a muchness, and the biggest problem you can ever experience, by the way, with all these ports is that if there is a strike and the trains are not working, you're going to be stuck with that port that you're in. But because, again, of the opportunity that it allows you to go visit some really awesome places that are not necessarily too far, I'm going to have to still keep it at a C. Now, Malaga is really, really cool. It has got a bull ring, which Alicante, by the way, also does have, but it's more easy to get to. Not to mention it has the Picasso Museum, which is amazing. And it's got a fort that you can go and hike up. It's so steeped in history. So I'm going to be scoring it a B. Why a B? Because you do still need to put a bit of effort to get around, but there is a lot to do and it is exceptionally beautiful. Now we're in Messina in Italy, in the beautiful part of Sicily, in fact. Unfortunately, Messina is not the ideal Sicilian port that you want to stop at. I think that is Catania. However, it is still an incredible port because it offers you access to the same sort of things. It's just more of a mission to get to them. So I'm going to score Messina a C because yes, you can still go visit Etna and also, places where The Godfather was shot if you're a big movie buff. There's some great wines in the region as well, but it is just out of the way. So it gets a C because of the access of unique places you can go visit by being there. But it is outdone by Catania, which is not on my list. I have unfortunately not been there as a port, but if you go look at the map, you'll see Catania is close to all the action. Our third last Greek port is Mykonos. Now, I think the best way to experience this is via an overnight. That way you get to experience it during the day. And of course, it's famous or infamous nightlife. Having said that, I do think Mykonos is exceptionally overrated and overpriced, no matter how you spend your time there, be it by a cruise or a full-on vacation. Having said that, though, you want to go check out Little Venice. It is breathtakingly beautiful. And I think hop over to the nearby island of Delos, which is so steeped in history and mythology. Go check that out. Now, having said that, I think because it's also always windy in Mykonos, like it's unavoidable, I really personally think Mykonos, again, just deserves a C at best. If there were no wind, maybe a B, but that's it. Our final Italian port is a strong one, and that is going to be Napoli. Now, of course, if you're a fan of Eat, Pray, Love, that's where the pizza place is. But more importantly, if you're a fan of history and just pure wonder and excitement, then you've definitely got to go there to go and see Pompeii, without a doubt. And of course, if you've seen Pompeii, somehow you've spent enough time there, then definitely go and check out, of course, Vesuvius if you can. But without a doubt, it's very easy to get from the port to Pompeii and back. I strongly recommend it if you're interested in that. And for that reason and that reason alone, I am going to give it a very strong B rating. Again, only because if you're not interested in history, you're not interested in Pompeii, which to me is crazy, you're not going to like it. But there's plenty of other things to still do nearby and in Napoli itself. So a strong B for Napoli. All right, we're back in Spain, and this time in Mallorca, or specifically Palma de Mallorca. Now, this is an incredibly picturesque, photogenic place to go and visit. The people are lovely. It is steeped in its own history, again, as are many of the Spanish ports. However, I do think that aside from going to the incredible Spanish royal palace there and right next to the cathedral where the interior was done by Gaudi, there isn't too much to do as a port day. If you were going there as a dedicated vacation, different story because it's quite a fun place in the evening. And of course, you have all the beautiful beaches and surrounds on the entire island. But as a port day, the port's a bit out the way. You got to walk quite a bit, then easy to catch a bus to town. But it's a bit of a hassle, bit of a headache. And I think there are better places to go to for a day trip that offer a lot more. So yeah, I'm going to have to give it a very harsh D. Back actually in Portugal and the Azores and particularly Ponta Delgada. Now I have to say this, Yes, when you go there, you're probably going to need to do an excursion or something unless you hire a car and drive around. But it is exceptionally beautiful and out of this world. It earns its namesake as being the so-called Hawaii of Europe. And it's a rite of passage, I guess, that you can access it typically only by going on a cruise that is a transatlantic. For that reason, this is just such a special place. Despite all the effort it will take to go and visit this on a cruise here, I have to give it an S tier. It's amazing. Our second last Greek port of the ranking is going to be Rhodos or Rhodes, and it is absolutely unbelievable. Firstly, the actual port itself is within short walking distance of the old fortress town itself, and right next to that is the modern town of Rhodes. So it is so easily accessible for you to walk there. Not to mention, it has got so many museums and archaeological sites there, and even on the outskirts of the city, you can go see the Temple of Zeus. It is amazing. I strongly recommend it. If you're feeling a little bit more adventurous and want to go even further, you can go on an excursion or something, for example, to Lindos to go see the Acropolis there. It is amazing. I have to say, Rhodes is an easy A as far as all ports are concerned, maybe even an S tier, but I'm going to for now keep it as an A. We wrap up the Greek ports with none other than Santorini. Now, this place is absolutely beautiful. Only problem with it is it's unavoidable that if you're going there on a cruise ship, it's going to require you using a tender, which stops it from being an S tier. At the same time, you do need to try and make sure that your ship is one of the first to get there, that there aren't a lot of ships hopefully on the day that you are going there, and of course that you get as early as possible as a tender time that you can. With that out the way, the wine's incredible, the views and sights are amazing, the history's incredible, and there's some stuff for adventure there too, like the nearby dormant volcanic island that is responsible for Santorini's existence. I absolutely love it here, and I think despite everything it has working against it, like it being crowded and all of that, I'm going to give it a comfortable A tier rating. Now we're in Split, Croatia, and I have to say this is a wonderful port because it's very manageable. Once you get off the ship, it's a short walk to the main palace there, which is basically the entire old town that you're quite familiar with and seeing photos of. And of course, if you're wanting to, you can take a nice, comfortable and easy to use ferry ride there and back to the town of Trogir, not so far away. Having said that, I don't think Split has got too much going on for it. It's very beautiful, very nice to walk around, some nice museums to go check out, but it just isn't the most exciting or awe-inspiring place, despite having a lot going for it. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a comfortable C. Our last French port is going to be Toulon or Toulon, and I have to say, it's not an offensive port, it's just boring. That's just the best I can put about it. It's very beautiful, lovely to stroll around. You can go see Mount Ferrand. There's really not much going for it. It has so much importance in France's history, especially during Napoleon's time, but that's really it. I think you could easily be happy if it were replaced with something else. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to give it a D rating. Last but not least, we have Valetta in Malta. Now, sailing in and out of Valetta is quite incredible, given that it is this ancient fortified city. But having said that, once you're inside the old city of Valetta, you have so many awesome museums to go check out. The architecture is quite amazing. They have some great food too. And of course, you can go all the way to the end to Fort St. Elmo, which is the war museum. And that is quite interesting to say the least. However, I don't think it is the most obvious cruise port to go check out, but if you do a little bit of research, it's tons of fun, very tourist friendly when you arrive, and of course, very walkable. There's also the rest of Malta that you can go check out. So I'm going to give it a strong B to end off on. And that is it for the European port rankings for me. I hope you found these useful and enjoyed some of the things that I showed in it, and of course, how the rankings turn out. I still love to hear back from you on what you think about it. But until next time, I'll see you then. Cheers. Bye.